We have a major trade report from Shams Charania as the offseason is about to be here for the San Antonio Spurs, and we know multiple moves are coming. And a recent report from Shams indicates that the Boston Celtics, the defending champions Audis, are making major changes to their roster this offseason, with some pieces being perfect fits for the San Antonio Spurs, including a sneaky name that is not talked about enough. We have to dive into this big report from Shams, what's going on with the Boston Celtics, and how the San Antonio Spurs have a perfect opportunity to capitalize on a team that has too much money on their books. We're going to dive into all of that coming up on this episode of Spurs Digest. But guys, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. We're going to be here all off season long with daily videos. And if you want to stay up to date, there is no better place than right here at Spurs Digest. We're going for 7,000. We're almost there. Thank you to all of you for tuning in. Let's dive into this big report from Shams. And this is what he had to say. Boom. The rest of the league is bracing for some level of change to come to the Celtics from their roster this offseason. Sources have been telling me for weeks now that the Celtics will be exploring trade options in the offseason. This team, this iteration, is just not going to be sustainable for this team, and no one around the organization, from players to staffers, would be surprised if there are changes coming to this roster. So first off, you're saying, what does this have to do with the Spurs? Well, what this has to do with the Spurs is that the Celtics, they have a lot of great talent that they straight up will not be able to afford to keep. Some of their guys, a guy like Peyton Pritchard, certainly going to stick around in his $7 million contract. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, those supermax extensions not going anywhere, but it's the rest of the guys. And Shams actually expanded upon this. He said, look, they have 5 players scheduled to make $28 million or more next year. That's a league record. They would have a salary bill of $500 million. Be a league history amount. I think the Celtics knew when they traded for Jrue Holiday and they traded for Kristaps Porzingis, they'd be staring at this in the face this summer. And right now out of Boston, look, taking a look at their payroll, yeah, he's not wrong. Oh my gosh, look at 25, 26. We got Brown at 57, Tatum at 58, Holiday at 35, Derrick White, our boy, at 30. I'm reading the wrong one. Sorry, 53, 54, 32, 31, 28. Crazy for Boston. Again, they have some good contracts there with Baylor Shineman looking pretty good. Peyton Pritchard is one of the best contracts in the league. Sam Hauser, $10 million, you take it, but they straight up won't be able to, not that they won't be able to pay this tax bill, they probably won't want to pay the tax bill, and regardless, it handcuffs them if they want to add anything to the roster, especially with Al Horford expiring. You know, you got to fill the position somewhere, whether it be from within. Neemias Queta, Luke Kornet, I'll get into him in a minute, Jordan Walsh. So with these questions, the Spurs just feel like a prime candidate to take one of these guys. Look, we know the San Antonio Spurs were looking to be competitive very soon. And we hear rumors about Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bradley Beal. That one was kind of crazy. I still don't believe that one. But, we've been linked to so many big names. But the general consensus is if we have to give up someone like a Stephon Castle, which you might have to do in a trade for a guy like KD or Giannis, it's probably just not worth it. It's not really worth it in the short term. However, some of these guys from Boston being in a position where they don't have a ton of leverage. They need to get off some of this money, and they might be willing to accept slightly below market for it. You might be able to get one of these guys, not giving up a guy like Castle or whatever, right? We're talking about the Aaron Fox trade. We didn't have to give up almost anyone, right? We had to give up some stuff. Obviously, Zach Collins, it's rough. We had to give up some picks. But we got a pretty good deal on Fox. And the Celtics seem to be in a similar situation. So I want to dive into some of these options. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on, first off, just looking at this list, who would you want on the Spurs? Because I'm going to dive into a few. And let me know your thoughts on each of them. Jrue Holiday is the first guy that pops to mind, right? Now, he is slated to make, $35 million? Let's take a look back there. $32.4 million next season. So Jrue Holiday would be a hefty price tag for the San Antonio Spurs. Now, again, would the Spurs really want to do this and block out their backcourt? There's some question marks, right? Because, of course, the ideal next year is to have De'Aaron Fox starting alongside Stephon Castle in that backcourt. And Jrue Holiday, I'm sure he could play the 3, but, he brings a ton of defense. Objectively, he's a phenomenal player. He is a winning basketball player. Everyone would want him on their team. Would I want him on the Spurs? Absolutely. At that price tag, for who we have in this organization right now, I'm not necessarily sold. Look, we have Devin Vassell playing a bit of 3 right now. Holiday is pretty much a pure guard, though he can guard 1 through 3 pretty easily. I just don't see any room for him to start. So he would probably come off the bench, is my idea. Then again, who knows? Holiday's an incredibly valuable player. I just don't see the fit with this Spurs roster. I don't see why you would want to pay the price tag that Jrue Holiday demands when you have such a loaded backcourt already, again, with Fox, Vassell, and Castle, and you're trying to find space for these guys. Now, we have been talking a lot recently, especially in mine and Brian's video on Castle winning Rookie of the Year, who's going to be the backup point guard, right? if Chris Paul doesn't come back, we still need someone. And Jrue Holiday could very well be an amazing backup point guard. And again, it's not like you're getting a ton of commitment with him, though you are for at least a couple of years, right? So it's like, actually, yeah, no, I'm wrong. I think that's a player option with the $37 million. So the thing with Jrue is like, you'd have to commit to him for a fairly long term at a high price tag. I don't think this makes sense. So I think you guys probably agree, but let's move on to the next one. KP. Look, imagining Kristaps Porzingis alongside Victor Wembanyama in that front court is kind of insane. Like, it's hard not to be like, wow, that is one of the craziest defensive front courts in the league. I don't know if you could play them together. If you did, you'd have to play Wemby at the 4 because he's more mobile, right? And Porzingis just sits there blocking shots as the 5, so that kind of hurts Wemby, what he's good at on defense, being able to stick him down low, especially those help side blocks. I don't know. Playing them together seems like a crazy pipe dream. Getting Kristaps Porzingis as a bench piece seems like it's too good for Porzingis, not good enough for what Porzingis deserves, right? He's a 20-point per game scorer. He's an incredibly effective player, 48 from the field, 41 from 3, and Porzingis does just come with that 1-year expiring $31 million deal, which is partly why I, again, don't think this makes sense. Bringing in Kristaps Porzingis for 1 year is like, okay, it's like bringing in Kevin Durant for 1 year, except at a much lower cost. It's like, yeah, I mean, it would help the team in the short term. Could you extend him longer term and have him be like the super duper tier bench center that the Spurs want? Yeah, you maybe could. Problem with him, though, is that he's rather injury prone, and you pretty much are never guaranteed a full season or full playoffs with Kristaps Porzingis. Now, he's playing pretty well for the Boston Celtics in the playoffs right now, but again, 1 year for him. If you could extend him past that at a cheap deal, I mean, I'd be down for it, but I don't know. I feel like this is also unrealistic. So these are the two guys that I wanted to dive into first and hear your guys' thoughts. But now we're getting into the spicy stuff. Derrick White is a guy that, like, look, we love. I mean, the Buffalo. He grew up a Spur. Not grew up, but you know what I mean. Came out of college, came to San Antonio. He is straight up one of my favorite players of all time. And I think a lot of you guys, too. I mean, I absolutely adore Derrick White. And it's been such a pleasure and privilege to watch him thrive in Boston. I would love to have Derrick White back on this team. The problem is, once again, you get that Jrue Holiday problem. And we come back here and we take a look at Derrick White. And he's committed after this year to another 4 years, really, with that option there in 28, 29 at $30-ish million per year, 28 into 30 into 32 into 35. So Derrick White, as much as I want him, paying $30 million a year for the next 4 years for a guy that is incredibly valuable, but you're paying Derrick White until he's 34. You imagine he'd probably start to decline a little bit. That foot speed starts to go down. I'm sure he'll still find a way to be impactful. And honestly, the fact that his three-point shooting has evolved so much since leaving San Antonio is obviously really, really good for him as well. But I don't, again, just with Fox and Castle and the vision for the backcourt, I would love a Derrick White type player. However, I would want him at 15 to 20 million for the next couple of years, not 30 to 35. And that's where I get stuck. And I feel like I can't in good conscience say that I want Derrick White at that price tag, at that term for this team. But maybe you guys disagree. I love the Buffalo so much. I would do anything to have him back in a Spurs uni. Just maybe not that. So let me know your thoughts on him. But I'm going to get into this final guy. And this is the sneaky one. I actually did see someone mention this on Reddit and on Twitter as well. He's a name that's been thrown around a bit. He's a name I actually think the Boston Celtics are going to want to keep. And that's Luke Kornet. Let me actually go back to this view because you can see all this stuff. Luke Kornet, this season with the Celtics, like surprising almost. Like he came out and he was such a plus defender. Rim protector 7-2. The Kornet contest is such a meme as well. Like he was just such a great hustle guy, but averaging 6 and 5 this year with 1.6 assists per game. Don't sleep on Luke Kornet's passing game either. He's such a funny guy to have around the room as well. You have to imagine Boston's going to want to bring him back with whatever money they can afford. I believe just the MLE, right? But he's much less than MLE. He's probably like I don't know. After this season, maybe not. But Luke Kornet just feels like one of those kind of guys that would be the perfect backup big for the San Antonio Spurs. Even if we draft someone like a Derek Queen, which Brian talked about recently, like you could still have Queen be the third string and just have them kind of grow, right? I feel like Kornet right now would be more impactful than Bassey. And he is a free agent. He made $2 million last year. And honestly, for his production, I'm not saying he's going to go out and get a $15 million a year contract, but like somewhere between 8 and 12, maybe that's too much, right? But something like that where you can almost pay him more than what the Celtics would be comfortable affording. You might put him in a bit of a bind, right? Like, I don't know if I'd go that high, but still, like, he was an incredible presence down low, protecting the rim. He could even score a bit, rebound the ball a bit. Great teammate by all accounts. Everyone loves Luke Kornet. Everywhere he's gone, he's been a fan favorite. And not only has he just been, he's gone from that almost meme, that joke on the sideline, oh, we love Luke Kornet, to like an actual solid player for a very, very good basketball team. Having him as the backup center for Wembanyama, I think, at least in the short term, makes sense before we maybe find a more permanent long-term solution. He's a guy that I genuinely think is extremely realistic for the Spurs to target in terms of unrestricted free agents trying to poach him from Boston. I think other teams will too. It wouldn't require a trade. I'm just saying, looking at this Celtics roster, knowing some of these guys are going to be gone, the Spurs have options. And I want to know what you guys have to say about this. Am I just pipe dreaming here with some of these guys? I think that this could actually make a lot of sense for San Antonio, but I'd love to hear all your thoughts down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Going for 7,000 subs. We'll be here all off season long, every single day. Join us. I can't wait to share all the news with you. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.